It's time for another weather rewind where we take a look back at this past week's weather, but with a twist. And today we are looking back at that quick cold snap that barreled into the Northeast last weekend. And we're also going to explore why these have been so few and so short-lived. So on that note, let's rewind. Unfathomable cold reached new lows on top of New Hampshire's Mount Washington. Strong winds near 100 miles per hour and a temperature of negative 47 degrees contributed to the bitter record cold wind chill of negative 108 degrees. Let that sink in. That surpassed the previous wind chill record held in the nation by Howard Pass over in Alaska, and that was negative 105 degrees. The mountain with the tallest peak also smashed its own previous record of negative 102.7 degrees, and that was back in 2004. For some perspective, NASA says that's slightly colder than the average temperature on Mars. Other spots throughout New England and upstate New York weren't as bad, but wind chills there between negative 50 to negative 40 degrees were still dangerously cold, of course. These bitter Arctic bursts have been few and far between this winter, but they've also been very short as well. So let's talk about the whys here. Now, we've got to turn to the good old polar vortex for the answer. The term has, as you've probably noticed, gained some popularity in recent years courtesy of our national headliners, but it's always been around. In simple terms, this is just a large area of cold air aloft that typically spins above the poles. This means there's one located at the South Pole, believe it or not, and one at the North Pole. Fun fact, it's usually much stronger at the South Pole. Now, the jet stream helps direct Arctic air connected with the polar vortex. So when your jet stream is strong, it's generally straighter and north of the states. This keeps the cold air locked up at the poles and results in a stronger polar vortex. But when the jet stream is weaker, it's wavier. We've got those ups and downs, so the polar vortex reacts similarly, and chunks of cold air can break off at the poles. Under the right setup, this could allow Arctic air to plunge south and linger for several days, if not longer. Strong Arctic areas of high pressure is what usually helps bring them into the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic. However, I do want to point out that strong Arctic air masses do not mean a strong polar vortex. We just saw it means the opposite. So if you want snow here, you want a weaker polar vortex to help break the cold air and get it down here in place. This detail has often been misrepresented at times in those headlines. So far this season, though, the polar vortex has been generally strong and the northern branch of the jet stream has stayed far to our north. And as a result, the blasts of these bitter cold bursts of air, they've been pretty limited, especially for us this season. Stay tuned for all of the whys behind the weather wonders that grab our attention each week.